Welcome back to another episode of From the Brink. I'm your host, Colby Reynolds. I'm joined here by co-hosts Paul Dehlinger,
Hey.
Blake Fisher,
Hello there.
and Clay Grossman.
Another day in America.
Today, we'll be talking about the fallout from the Trump assassination attempt, specifically the Secret Service director resigning, the Republican National Convention, and J.D. Vance as Trump's vice president pick, as well as President Biden dropping out of the race and nominating President Harris to succeed him, and Harris's chances in general, along with who do we think her vice presidential pick will be. All right, boys, I guess, let's get started with the assassination attempt fallout. So the director of the Secret Service resigned after a hearing in Congress.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, that seems like it should have been obvious, but I guess going into it wasn't. I mean, both Biden and Mayorkas were giving her pretty glowing recommendations after she left. It's like, oh, she's so honorable for taking responsibility. I don't know if y'all watched it, but I saw clips, and it seemed like she didn't handle that very well. I mean, even some of the Democrats were, grilling her pretty hard and getting kind of upset with her answers.
Yeah, I thought she looked pretty fishy. I thought it was pretty fishy. It did not help any conspiracy theories. It didn't help debunk any conspiracy theories at all, her performance in Congress.
Well, and it was kind of funny because one of the Democrats even tried to throw her a lifeline so like they could pivot from, her incompetence to like, isn't it kind of scary that people can own AR-15s? And she just didn't take it at all. And then she kind of refused to answer the question. And then that congressman got mad and then basically like demanded her resignation after that. So
really, I didn't see that.
It completely backfired. So yeah, I think just all around she's pretty incompetent and didn't help, Republicans that were upset with the whole thing at all.
Well, I will say, I think it speaks very high volumes to the nature of the politics in the last 2 weeks that this and the continuing fallout is already feeling like it has happened about 2 weeks or 2 months ago, 2 years ago even. We're recording this on Saturday, June 27th. It's about 2 weeks since the Trump assassination attempt, and I think it's already becoming old news with the Harris nomination and the Biden dropout. But what I can say is that it demonstrates the high level of incompetence. I think if we were in a normal timeline, this scandal and the Biden scandal would be enough to make this a landslide election for Donald Trump. We are not in such a timeline. The drastic failures of the Secret Service, the blatant lying and gaslighting by the media about Joe Biden's age have all, frankly, not been super impactful. We are still heading towards a razor-thin election that will be decided by a few thousand votes in some of the states. Kind of remarkable. It speaks to the timeline that we're in.
That's pretty crazy to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You'd say Trump
and
surviving.
If you think about it, what Nixon? Yeah, and Nixon had to resign just for lying about interference or spying on the Democrats, and now we're doing all this.
Yeah, it's a weird time that we're in. I think that this 2 weeks will go down in America as perhaps one of the most significant ones ever. You have a failed assassination attempt, and you have a president resigning from his party's nomination. The Secret Service agent, and everything we've read about the Secret Service in Butler, it was a drastic failure on bureaucrats. So I would say that this will be going down in one of the most times, and I mean, this is going to be an interesting election. Is how it shapes out in November.
Very. Mr. Fisher, what's your take on this? What's your opinion on the fallout?
I think Clay hit the nail on the head. With people's attention span being so short nowadays, the Democrats got a pretty good handle on how to do the old DC dip and twirl and change the position of what everyone's looking at to something else. The Trump assassination, what happened, 2 weeks ago, about 14 days, give or take, and it feels like it happened forever ago, a couple months, maybe a couple of years ago. It just goes to show what the how good of a control and how intelligent the Democrats are at wielding the media to turn and pivot everything away from the assassination attempt to Biden stepping down. And then after the chaos of that, then who's going to be nominated? Harris. Okay, not Harris is nominated. Who's going to be a VP? They're doing a pretty good job of keeping that kind of chaotic vision on that, and so it's pulling it away from the attempted assassination attempt, where the day after, the day of, and a couple of days after, everyone was saying that because this assassination attempt, it's going to be a landslide, be easy as heck, because I mean you got Biden who's demented and in some way or another, or demented so much it has dementia, and then you have Trump's assassination attempts. Like, well, of course Trump's going to win by a landslide, and I took within 2 weeks all that chaos, turned it into now we're all focusing on what Harris is going to do and where her pick is going to be, as if she has any control over who she's going to pick. Anyways, I'm sure the DNC's already told her who she's going to pick, so they're just drawing it out to keep the attention on themselves and away from Trump, and they realize now, because the Democrats have been focusing on Trump for so long, that they think they realize they have to turn it away from him now because of how his popularity and has spiked, and how many people are now supporting him because of the assassination attempt. So they're doing the smart thing to pull the attention away from him into their candidate. But and it's frustratingly going to make the it should have been a landslide election a lot more narrow.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I don't agree with any of that. I mean, I don't think it was ever going to be a landslide. But I mean, you're saying like they're bringing attention to like Harris. I mean, I think that's kind of just natural from Biden stepping down. But I mean, no, I think they'll probably want to focus attention on Trump during the general. I think that's probably was always going to be their plan. I just think the detention is on her because there's more unknowns. I mean, one, it's kind of up in the air how the Democrats and the Republicans kind of define her to the rest of the country that doesn't really know her at all. And then I mean, this is an election where a VP pick could be pretty important. I mean, not only on Harris's side but on Trump's as well.
Yeah, a landslide in Trump terms, Paul. That's winning the Rust Belt states and maybe Nevada. I think was always going to be about in the cards. But yeah, I guess we're going to shift into the Harris conversation a little bit more. Yeah, of course, President Biden dropped out about a week now from the presidential race. Disappeared for 5 days or so because of COVID. Gave probably one of the worst presidential addresses.
Yeah,
Oval Office addresses. Answered none of the questions about why he was dropping out. None of the questions about his age. None of the questions why he's fit for the office for the next half a year. So and now very quickly Kamala obviously consolidated the nomination, and I think it's still a week out, too early to tell, but I would say at this point you would have to favor Kamala in this race. That may be the unpopular take. I mean, she is an unpopular person. I was looking at her approval ratings; it's at 38%. So still in league with where Trump is at, but to the median voter, to the person, to the average voter, Kamala is still a relative unknown, and because she never had to endure a real primary process, Democrats and moderates can kind of paint their own image of her at this point. And you juxtapose that with Donald Trump, who is still going to be a very divisive figure, and J.D. Vance, who is a very unpopular vice presidential pick. I would still say all that gives me the inclination that this is Kamala's race to lose. Now, we can debate about that some, but I do think if nothing goes wrong or nothing major goes wrong with the economy or Biden doesn't have another slip up, I think that she will win this race if things go according to the line.
Well, I mean, it's funny too that we're even, viewing it as just assuming she's the nominee, where, I mean, Biden steps down and like legally there was no obligation for those delegates to pick her as the VP, but they kind of quickly all consolidated around her, which is, funny. And like in a world where we have stronger parties, VP Harris is definitely not the candidate you would pick if you were really worried about winning this election.
It's very funny. Their process of getting her in was that they've been preaching and we've known this for years, but they've been preaching, oh, democracy, follow the rules, democracy, 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 and then they shoehorn her in one of the most, I guess, sketchy ways possible to get
Well,
the
I mean,
seat or office. I
political
guess.
parties can do that, so I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, I think they should have just done in some kind of process. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't really think a democracy comparison is apt, just because it's kind of how political parties work. Personally, I think this would be a better process than like the primary system we do have. But yeah, I mean, they didn't let people pick on who their nominee is going to be, which is going to make some people upset, like Bernie Bros specifically, who think maybe they're entitled to the VP nomination or the presidential nomination.
Well, if we were in any other timeline with any other Republican candidate, I would say that it would be very hard for the Democrats to ossify around Kamala as they have. But I mean, yes, if it was any other Republican nominee versus Trump, who they literally think is the embodiment of Satan, they would not have been able to do this as easily. But I think people are legitimately buying into their own smoke, which is that they think Trump is going to be a Hitlerian dictator, which is just not true. They bought into the Biden line on this one, that Trump is a true threat to democracy. So they went ahead and fell in line, and they will fall in line. I think that's one of the reasons it's going to be a razor thin election, no matter who the vice presidential nominee is, no matter where things go. But the map is more favorable towards Kamala at this point, in spite of the great many errors of the Biden administration, not the least of which is the Secret Service failures, not the least of which is the blatant lies we were told about this. If we were in a normal timeline, this should have been a heavy red wave year. But again, it's the nature of the nominee at the end of the day. As much as we all like or dislike Trump, I think he is a very divisive figure, and that's going to allow the Democrats to fall in line this November.
Have we been seeing, I haven't personally, but seen any huge identity politics narratives for Harris because of her potential as the first female black president? Because I thought we'd see more of that by now, but I haven't seen too much of that.
Yeah, I would say that there has been certainly that narrative played out by the media. I think the new attack line is going to be pretty clearly that Trump is a sexist or a racist for attacking her on very legitimate policy concerns. So,
yeah, I mean, there was some controversy about people referring to her as Kamala instead of VP Harris, which, I mean, that's not that unusual for people to refer to politicians as their first name. Bernie was one. It's just nobody calls him Senator Sanders. So
I heard Joe a lot.
Joe, yeah, that's another one. So I mean, yeah, obviously they're gonna make accusations of sexism and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of built in. They're gonna kind of girl boss her to the White House if they can. I mean, what was the new one they're using? It's that she's brat. I don't know.
Oh my gosh,
y'all are Zoomers. Can y'all explain it to me?
I heard that word, but it just started being used by people younger than me. So I don't know what it actually does, but I didn't know that they were. Is this another Pokemon Go to the polls thing?
What word?
Kamala is brat. Apparently it's a Gen Z slogan. I sincerely hope she sticks to that. By the way,
BRAT,
because that's brat. She's a brat.
Yes, she is.
I really hope that they stick to the message, because if there's any word in the English language that we all love, it's brat. And if there's any president we want, it's a bratty president.
Yeah.
What can I guess Trump's campaign was so focused on Joe.
I'm gonna Urban Dictionary that real quick. Brat. That's gonna drive me nuts.
Please give us
I beat you to it. It's a person that always gets what they want. The rules are bent in their favor. So I don't know if that really describes her, but that's what they're going to go with.
That may be the image
presidential
that she wants to go with. Yeah. Colby, you were saying?
There's no way this is the word they're meaning.
Sorry, Blake.
No, this is
the Trump campaign's focus now is going to be to their strategy, because they were so focused on Joe's incompetence, Joe's old age. Now it's Harris, and they got to radically shift all of a sudden on their narratives and attack plans to get to the White House.
To that point, that has been hilarious between, all the Democrats, or the Republican attack was Biden's too old. He's an old man. He's 82. And now the Democrats, technically speaking, Donald Trump is the oldest nominee in history. That was
dropped out.
that was particularly hilarious to me.
Yeah. I think if they are smart, they're going to stick to their winning issues, which are immigration and economy. And if the Democrats were smart, they would have dropped Kamala from the ticket altogether and put someone else that has no record on immigration or economy, someone that could be a blank slate. So Trump is going to say immigration. He's going to bring up the immigration czar thing as many times as possible and try to paint her as an out of touch progressive, which is ironic. And if you're probably looking at the centrist median voter, Trump is probably more in line with them than some of Kamala's takes. So if they're smart about that, they're going to stick to their winning issues and portray Trump as a more moderate pick as opposed to Kamala's progressivism.
Do you think we're going to see a lot of her California office history pulled up? Because I know there's some rough stuff there that she was attacked on in 2020.
It's probable. It certainly doesn't play well to the Democratic base. And if you study Kamala Harris's political history, she's much like Biden. She's been a chameleon where on certain issues. So yes, it will become relevant, but I think that the main attacks will still be coming from her time as vice president, where she's probably most known on the national scene. You can blame her for inflation. You can hit her for immigration, things of that nature. And you know what? I think it's worth saying, I don't think we're out of the woods yet with Biden having F-ups, essentially. I think he's going to do something in the next couple of weeks that is going to be, well, the Democrats are going to have to stand by him and if they don't 25th Amendment, they're going to have to answer for what Biden is doing in the last 6 months of his tenure.
What do we think about, Paul, you brought this up earlier before the broadcast, the media flip on Harris. She's not the border czar. She was never the border czar and stuff like that. What's our opinions on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's just another example of just blatant gaslighting. I mean, this one's the most, obscene to me. It should be noted, border czar is not an official position. You don't get officially your title changed to border czar. I mean, thank God. I mean, it's like a Russian thing, but no, I mean, it's just a title for somebody who's supposed to be in charge of interagency goals, which, everybody I've listened to online says it's just a horrible position to be a czar of anything. But yeah, I mean, they, named her this hoping she would deal with the root causes of the border problem. And I mean, her excuse should be, hey, this got dropped on us because, Biden was having a bad news cycle, and so he just deflected it by saying, "Oh, I put VP Harris as border czar." That should really be their excuse. But trying to tell everybody, "What? No, this never happened," it makes the situation worse, because it just makes them seem like liars, because that's what they are. I mean, they're lying about it.
I, for one, prefer the title border czar. I mean, we could be a civilized country. Who needs a deputy of Homeland Security? All right, I want a border czar in the president's cabinet. I think if we're going to the full idiocracy routes, I think that would be certainly something worth considering. But yeah, I think one other point that I wanted to bring up is the electoral map, how it shifts with Kamala. A lot of people have been saying that she does appeal to younger voters, and that's going to be particularly relevant, and minority voters, which is going to be particularly relevant in more of the Sun Belt states in this particular election. That's going to be Georgia, probably North Carolina, Arizona, and Nevada, where they become maybe a little more competitive than they were going to be. So that being said, Harris has not obviously nominated a vice presidential pick at this point. My opinion is, and I think probably someone that we all share in is, or maybe we share in, is that she would be smart to take a Midwestern white Democrat, a Shapiro, an Andy Beshear, J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, something in that line that would take away one of the blue wall states away from Trump. And then if Harris can replicate the map, winning Georgia, winning Arizona, winning Nevada, there is no path to Trump if he loses even one of the blue wall states. So what do y'all think about that? Where do y'all see Kamala going with this vice presidential pick at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Bashir really helps with that. I mean, other than, giving her the persona of trying to moderate the ticket. I will say it is kind of funny, all this talk about Harris being a diversity hire, and now she's got to hire like a old, appearing moderate, white Democrat. But yeah, I mean, I think Shapiro would probably be the best option, could probably kind of lock in Pennsylvania, maybe sure up some liberal Jewish voters who've been kind of just disgusted with just the blatant anti-Semitism in the party. So it could bring a lot of Democrats home. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple. I mean, Blake, which one were you kind of betting on?
Roy Cooper, North Carolina.
North Carolina. Yeah, that's another one. I mean, if she takes that one off the table, that would make things difficult for Trump. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot that are in play. I mean, I could see Trump, winning like Michigan, but then losing North Carolina and Georgia. And then at that point, I mean, I don't even know. So, I mean, all I can say is like this kind of reverted some of the really, aggressive ones that the Trump campaign was hoping to get. Like, people were talking about Virginia being on the table. I mean, that's just not happening anymore, I don't think. I mean, Colby, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I don't think it's pretty unlikely that Virginia will go for Trump. It's unfortunate. It's just D.C. It's D.C. and Norfolk. They kind of hold the state hostage.
I will say one interesting note about the Roy Cooper pick. If Kamala can replicate her performance or Biden's performance in the Sun Belt states in 2020, which was carrying Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia, if she flips North Carolina, there is no electoral map. Even if Trump sweeps in the 3 states that he won in 2016, he will lose the election if he loses North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada in that scenario. So it is an interesting argument for Roy Cooper. I think you have to assume though that Trump is not going to make any gains in Georgia, Nevada, or Arizona for that to be a viable option.
Do y'all think the major migration out of California into Arizona will affect this election? Because I could see an easy path.
It already has. It already has the last like 4 elections. When was the last time Arizona voted for a Republican in state or federal elections at this point? So yes, it already has.
McCain.
2018. Yeah. Yeah. So we're going on full 6 years now. Arizona is a lean Democratic state. If everything in a normal election. Now Trump has made a lot of inroads with Hispanic voters, so maybe it does tilt a little bit more, maybe more in the toss-up category. But yes, the Sun Belt state is a lot more in play with Kamala's, I guess, aura, if you want to call it that. Maybe I'll change that vote. Kamala's appeal. I think that changes the map a little bit, but
yeah,
I still think
starting to sound like a Zoomer.
I swear, Blake, I am not Brat. No matter what no matter what my
Brat.
Yeah,
I will never be such Brat.
I won't be Brat. I can promise you that. But I stick with Bashir. I mean, he is obviously Kentucky's never going to be in play, but you want someone that can ideally win away Republican voters. I think that's the whole idea behind that pick. Anyone that can win twice in Kentucky as a Democrat, and he was also elected Attorney General before that, has a strong appeal to more middle of the ground voters. And if that's the message that Kamala is going to go for, I think it's a very strong one.
I think that's a good likelihood. I don't know much about Shapiro, but I do know with the state of the Democratic Party, how anti-Semitic it is and how progressive Harris is. I think there's less of a chance she'll pick him than I forget his name, the governor of Kentucky.
Bashir.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I think. I haven't looked into this issue too much though.
Yeah, one we didn't talk about was Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona, which they were talking about to try to shore up Arizona. I mean, I think Shapiro probably does the best, but I mean, yeah, she's got a couple options to try to beef up that moderate kind of appeal. I would think.
May I present another possible candidate?
Be my guest.
Beto O'Rourke, the Beto Sans.
Oh,
What a timeline we would live in.
That
I heard.
be-
But wait,
Sorry.
wait, she can't pick Beto. He's not a white guy.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Whoops, never mind.
the Irish Hispanic. Yeah. No.
Oh man.
There's
What a
no way
perfect
that
pick.
I don't think that worked too well given if she did, then it'd just be constant coverage of hell yeah, we'll take your ARs over and over and over.
And how he's lost every election he's ran in
Yeah,
Texas.
Yeah. One thing I will ask as well, I don't know if we've touched on this, is the Vance pick. I think we talked about it a little bit. That's another bit of breaking news since then. I personally think it was not a smart move, but I understand in the Trumpian view of politics, that is definitely that definitely was the logical choice. But considering the Kamala Harris is now the nominee, considering that they are going to have a fresh face, presumably on both the presidential ticket and the vice presidential ticket, do y'all think that Trump made the wrong decision in picking JD Vance at this point?
I think it was a better pick with the situation he had because this was a week before, not even a week, or yeah, around a week or so before Biden dropped out of the race. I think it was a good pick when Biden was the primary candidate, but now with Harris, it's more risky.
Well, I mean, it was definitely a confidence pick. As far as good, I don't, it doesn't help him win a state. I mean, he's pretty sure he had Ohio locked up. I just on the merits, I didn't like it. I heard a rumor that one of the reasons he picked him is because his son convinced him if he picked like a Rubio or Burgum, the CIA would have more motivation to like assassinate him, and that's what led to this. But yeah, like in all seriousness, if he does lose, I think we're going to trace back the start of that like loss to that VP pick. But Blake, what's your opinion on it?
A little different from y'all. I think it's a fine pick. Definitely a better pick when Biden was in the race. Overall, I think it is a fine pick. It's a strong ticket for people that already support Trump and his MAGA movement, and the Republicans behind him on that one. I think it's a strong pick, but I do agree that it doesn't help win over any states. It doesn't do much for the independent voters or those squished Democrats that are starting to disagree with how far left Democrats are getting. It doesn't help much in that realm, but I think overall it's a strong ticket for what Trump represents and what he wants in his office.
Do y'all think it'll help him lock down most of the Midwest? I think Minnesota's a lost cause and Illinois, but the others are pretty. Some are up there.
I don't think it helps him with any of those states. I mean, like, okay, who do you think was like, well, I don't really like Trump, but this JD Vance fellow, I mean, it's like all the people who like JD Vance already like Trump, and then more people like Trump than JD Vance. I mean, he didn't do very well in that primary. Trump carried him over the finish line with like 30% of the vote, and then he ran behind DeWine by like 10 points. So,
yeah, I will say, Colby, if the Midwestern states come into play, it's going to have less to do with JD Vance and more to do with who Kamala picks as a vice presidential nominee. It depends on if in other words, if they are going to run a 2016 style campaign where they're going to appeal to identity politics, appeal to try to broaden their map. I think that will be the reason. Biden, of course, one of the areas that he cut into Trump's support the most was with white voters. And that was really the swinging back, if you want to call it that, of the Midwestern states. My personal opinion is that I think this is, again, I said it, is Kamala's race to lose. 2016 is an outlier election. Let's not forget that Trump did not win Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin by a landslide. He won it by winning the same number of votes that Mitt Romney did, and there being bad voter turnout on the Democratic side, which I don't think is going to happen in the post-Trump era, or in the Trump era, if you want to call it that. So that's why I think this is a hard map for Trump to win. And I think I'll take a bait and agree with the team that I think that if he had some hindsight, Vance would not have been the pick, given the circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, I just personally don't like Vance. One, he's just on economics. He's a little more to the left, closer to like Elizabeth Warren than Milton Friedman. But yeah, I mean, I'll say it's a strong pick for MAG. Okay, well, like if it either helps him win or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, then I would say it's a bad pick. And we've been talking about like how the Harris campaign is going to play this. I think they're kind of not sure if they want to lean into their progressive base, which, one thing they did gain by going, switching to Harris is that there was, clearly a big, boost in enthusiasm from like younger Democrat voters who, I mean, I guess would pretty much resign themselves to not voting, in 2024. I mean, she got just a huge number of volunteers sign up as soon as she announced. And they raised like something like $200 million in like the week after. So, I mean, there's been a big bump. Now, is that going to make up for all the, more, moderate, older white voters that she's going to lose who are, at least comfortable with Biden, but, not willing to, go to Harris? I don't know. I guess it's kind of, I guess one thing we didn't talk about is that how Biden had actually started to win over, like, I think, was it white voters over 65 or 70, which seemed kind of odd. And then Trump was actually closing in the gap on voters between 18 and 29, which to me doesn't make any sense in the world, but I guess that's the world we live in. I don't know, Blake, what do you think?
I agree. I forgot the question.
How they're gonna how the Harris campaign's gonna frame their campaign.
Oh, well then, like Clay said, definitely gonna circle back to identity politics and who they pick. And again, like you said as well, with the Biden picking up a lot of the white voters and then switching over, winning over, I guess would be a better term, winning over a lot of the white voters that didn't really want Trump in 2020 or didn't really like him and thought Biden, back to normalcy, build back better, and all these other lies they spouted. So, depending on her pick VP, which will be some middle-aged white guy, because they already have the minority locked up with the minority and the female vote locked up with Harris, that they'll pick some white guy to win over a lot of those as well, like Biden did, and then of course lean heavily on the identity politics and talk about how first woman, first black, first Indian president we'll ever have, so you have to vote for her. And look, we have some generic white guy with a clean cut face and some old white hair. Like, white guys can feel like they're voting for him too. Go team. And that'll be their overall strategy, and it worked well in the 2020s. So who's to say it won't work again? Me, by the way, I say it won't work again.
Do y'all think Tim Kaine's going to come back VP for Harris?
God, no.
What about John?
They'd be more likely to put John Kerry and then then bring back Tim Kaine at this point.
Actually, is Tim Kaine up for re-election this year in the Senate?
Let's see. His was
2018, I think, right?
Yeah, it's 20. I think Kaine is up this year, so they could do that. But I mean, I don't think. I think it's a distant possibility.
Yeah, I wonder if that Senate seat's in play. I'd be kind of curious about that.
Yeah, I hadn't looked into it.
By the way, Clay, not to interrupt, but I did fill out that map you were talking about where Harris wins Georgia, Arizona, and then North Carolina, and then Trump wins Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and then Nevada. So that's a 269 race.
You gotta flip Nevada, because
I said that.
If let me look at this again. If you Nevada is one of those weird states where if you if you look at the polling data historically, it does actually one of the weird states where it actually flips and favors Republicans. Let's not forget that Trump was actually favored to win in Nevada in 2016. But yes, if you flip Nevada on this map and Trump carries Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania and loses all of the quote unquote swing states in the Sun Belt, I have a Democrat win 275 to 263 on this map. So it would be a razor thin election, but yes, Kamala could literally ditch the Rust Belt. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen. I think one of these states is going to stay Republican, but it does show that there is an argument for this case. I just don't necessarily think she's going to be the one to do it. I think one of the things we're still not clear on, given that it's only been a week, is how much of the support for Kamala is astroturfing. How much of it is the fact that is it more just Biden is out of the race, or is there real actual grassroots support for Kamala? If I were to play devil's advocate with myself, I would say everyone is going to go out and do work for Trump after the assassination attempt. Everyone is going to be motivated to vote that was in the middle or leaning towards Trump. Kamala might not necessarily be the case. It might be a fake level of support. She might screw up the next 4 months and not actually win this. I just don't necessarily think it's going to happen based off of the map.
Yeah, I mean, I think the support is real in the sense that like the people that really hate Trump, but just got tired of having to like lie to themselves about Biden and like how far he's gone down mentally, now feel like a new breath of fresh air. Where I mean, I guess we never talked about whether Kamala is a better candidate or not, but I mean, maybe compared to 2012 or even 2020 Joe Biden, no, but compared to like Joe Biden now and where he's going to be in another 3 months, yeah, I mean, she's going to be able to campaign. I think she's reasonably going to give younger Democrats some motivation to get out there and to canvass and door knock. And it lets them reset the narrative. Y'all talked about bringing attention away from the assassination attempt. But I mean, also like, and both sides are a little confused on how they want to frame it. I think the Trump campaign was at one point thinking they were going to portray her as a prosecutor that was locking up young minorities, and as Trump as somebody who did the First Step Act, try to let first time offenders give them pardons, and I don't know if they expunge their records, but things like that. I mean, do y'all think that's a winning strategy for Republicans who've traditionally been the tough on crime party?
No, I think people will come home on the Democratic sides, regardless of if Kamala has this image as a prosecutor. I think people are more fed up with high crime and bad immigration policies that have led to that than what the support that Trump is going to gain from making that argument. So I think Trump should stay away from that message, and yeah, I don't think it's a winning strategy for Republicans.
Colby, what do you think?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Sly. I think, as we mentioned earlier, Trump's strongest platforms would be the economy and the border. I think he should definitely ramp up, focus on the border, given Harris's history with the border. Yeah, I guess that's all I got on that.
Blake, you think that's a winning strategy?
No, not at all. I actually completely agree with Clay as well. I think Clay kind of hit the home run on that one.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, no, thank you, sir. Thank you. Perfect.
Nice.
I don't know. I guess I feel like the need to play devil's advocate. I just, I don't know. I agree with it, so it's kind of hard to.
You always feel that need.
Poke holes in it.
Well, don't worry. We'll have. Sorry, you go.
Oh, well, because I mean, it seems like a lot of the, girl boss kind of mentality for the Democrats is to do the whole, Kamala the prosecutor and versus the convicted felon. I don't know. I'm trying to think like who's up in the air for them to get. I mean, there's suburban white women who could kind of shift the election in some of these Sunbelt states. And I say that, I mean, forget there's suburbs in, the Midwest too. I can make the difference in Pennsylvania as well. I just don't know. I'm kind of torn between whether it's going to be like an election for like the last 4 years or for like the future. Like, are we going to focus on, the failures of the Biden administration, or are we going to go like, looking forward to, what's a Harris administration going to look like?
I think it's going to shift probably to a future sense election. We will hopefully go back to having some policy debates. I don't think that there was ever going to be a chance where Biden and Trump were going to have long form discussions about policy. But I will say the Trump camp is signaling like they are not going to take on Kamala Harris debate, which I think that would be an interesting question to pose to y'all. Do you think that is a good strategy at this point? If he's up in the polls and refuses to debate Kamala at this point, what would y'all say as far as that one goes? Is that a viable strategy, or should Trump try to replicate his Biden debate?
I think that if I remember, I didn't watch much of them, but if I remember correctly, Harris didn't do too good in the primary debates in 2020. She got stomped by Pence during the vice presidential debate. So I think it's a good strategy to let Trump go in there. He seems like, at least just judging solely based off the Biden debate from a few weeks ago, he seems like he's learned from 2020 how to act on the stage during those things. So I think it'd be a pretty winning strategy to go up there and just demolish Harris like Pence did.
Yeah. You say he's – I'm sorry, Blake. You can go.
We also say that actually, I think it'd be a good win too. Not plan ahead 6 different debates and have these insane rules like you did with Biden, which was clearly to cover up Biden's incompetencies, which didn't even work. I think it'd be a winning strategy for him to go debate Harris and then watch her laugh her way halfway through the entire debate because she can't answer anything straight and she thinks she's so funny and cool, but in realistic talk, she's neither. And I think Trump would really expose that as well. I don't think it'd be smart to debate like 3 times. I think once or twice would be perfectly fine. Anything more than that wouldn't just be overkill, but I think that it would give her time and chance and discussion with her peers to combat Trump's version or way of debating. So I think once or twice she's just perfectly fine because she is competent enough to at least learn from her mistakes and go to the next debate or the 3rd debate or the 5th debate. Not that they ever have 5, but yeah. I think once or twice would in general do good to show Trump's heavy-handedness in his debate. He has learned a lot more on stage, learned a lot more on how to act on stage, as well as the RNC debate speech. The first 20-30 minutes of speech was fantastic. When he was reading from the teleprompter, crushing it, knocked it out of the park. So I think if he keeps to that during the debate, I think that Harris doesn't stand a chance.
I think the assassination attempt shook him up a bit too. I think
for sure.
It's not too apparent yet, but I think we're going to see a definite difference in his performance on stage. Not like night and day. Oh, where was this Trump? Not like that, but you can just.
We'll see Trump like bob and weave while he's giving a speech, so he can stay on stage.
I will actually disagree with the both of y'all on that one. I do think that after Biden dropped out, Trump said this at a speech literally yesterday. He's not going to play nice anymore. He was going to play nice, and then he's like, "If it's all right with y'all, it was his exact word. I'm not going to be nice." Biden. And to that end, I think it actually may be not smart for him to take a debate on with Kamala, because even Trump because of the electoral map can afford to be down 1 to 2 points in an election. If it's anything like that or Trump is up, I think he would be irresponsible of him to do so, because Trump is going to want to, and I can see the inclination to do this is go for kill shots on Biden, and it's easy to do that when you're debating against a dead person who is somehow performing worse than you. There's no real substantive policy discussion, and he literally can't speak. Now, if he goes up there and I think that what it would look like if he does that against Kamala is it's going to look a lot more like his 2020 presidential debate, and he's going to come off as crass, and he's going to alienate some people that were in the middle that might have actually voted for him. So I think it depends. It really depends on where he was at. You know, if he's down where it's going to look like he's going to lose, yeah, I mean, what else do you have to do? You have to go for it at that point. But if he is winning, I would say he should not debate at this point. It'd be a smart strategy.
I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
that I agree in general with that. My whole premise was on the fact that if Trump was able to keep that RNC, that first 20-30 minutes of reasonableness and still bombastic Trump, but some that bit of reasonableness he had in his debate, I think it'd be smart to go ahead and debate with Harris. But you're right, I completely forgot about him saying that he was going no pulled punches, no holds barred. Now that Biden's dropped out, so if he goes back to that just completely over the top, crass and crude debate style, I think you're right as well. That would just deter people that we're trying to pull in. So again, it just kind of comes down to where he'll be at when it comes to debates. Sorry, Paul, go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. I think there's some drawbacks to both. I mean, yeah, I don't think Kamala's a great debater, but I mean, during the Democratic primary, she had some pretty, I would say, devastating shots against Biden. Mainly about forced busing, which, I mean, I think, dumb arguments, but in the Democratic primary, I think they definitely hurt Biden. She kind of personalized the story about, him voting against forced busing. And when it turned out the story wasn't even like relevant to her life, but she made it, seem like, Biden's vote prevented her from going to integrated school. But
Big surprise.
to Clay's kind of a common assumption, like, well, if Trump's leading the popular vote, he's pretty much got it locked in. That has traditionally been the assumption for Republicans. I don't know if that's true anymore. I think the parties have. I think the Republican Party has a lot more. What's the word for low propensity voters now? So I mean, there could be a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, I would totally vote, Trump. I was like, where are you going to vote? That's a lot of work. So, and I think Democrats have gotten a lot of highly educated or college educated voters who are now like they would crawl over broken glass to vote D. So I think now we're kind of in the sense that like the high turnout may favor Republicans. A lot of these working class voters that don't regularly vote, may be more willing to vote Republican than Democrat. So, like I said, but as far as whether he should debate or not, if he doesn't, I mean, she'll have a lot of opportunity to call him a coward, say he's dodging her. But if he does vote, I mean, obviously she's going to bring up, abortion nonstop. So that's, kind of go both ways.
Do we have any other on this topic?
I guess we just go over like, what do we see the odds of her winning? Like I said, the day before he picked JD Vance as his running mate, I was like 60-40 Trump's favor. Now I'm pretty much like 52-48, slight Harris favor maybe.
It's still early for me to say. I think this is going to be a traditional election now where there's pretty much an October surprise that will shift things. Although we've had 2 July surprises, so maybe not so much. But my thinking is at this point, if I were just based off of the facts at hand, I would give it 60 Kamala, 40 Trump. But I will amend that later on as more polling data and stuff like that comes out.
I haven't looked at any polling data. I know I'm a bad voter, but I would right now, I want to say 50-50. I have a bit of faith, but we'll see what happens when the October surprise rolls around.
Blake?
Yes. I got no sleep last night, so I totally zoned out.
What do you think the
So
chances
sorry.
are?
It's okay. You were rewatching Adcolite again for the third time. It's okay.
No, I would never. I've been moving into my new place, and then also help my parents move out of this house. So we've just been boxing and moving, and lifting and not really sleeping. What was
What do you
the
think the
question?
chances are of a percentage either Trump versus Harris in November?
Oh, let's see. I want to be. Normally, I'm the like overly positive one on the politics, where Paul's more, he would say realistic. I call it pessimistic. But I think, unfortunately, I think it'll be a little neck and neck, and I'd say Trump's going to pull ahead a little bit. You guys looking for like specific electoral vote guess? Because I can do that too.
Percentages will be okay. Just a guesstimation.
I think it'd be a good 65-35 Trump.
Wow, that is fairly optimistic.
I know. Come on, Paul.
Okay.
No, bat me down. Bat me down.
No, I mean, it's your opinion. I guess time will tell. We'll see here in the next couple of weeks.
I
guess
feel
we'll
really, I feel really pessimistic now after hearing Blake and Colby's answer. Am I just the doomer over here?
I think that some of the Trump lawsuits are going to factor in something here coming the fall.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that. They dismissed the classified documents case over the what do you call it? Because they used a special prosecutor. It's kind of funny in the presidential immunity case. Thomas kept trying to bring this up as far as a God, this is getting annoying. I'm forgetting all my words. Just thinking that position is illegal, and just as a dissent, and just nobody backed him up on it. And now Judge Cannon, I guess, dismissed it under that pretext. Legally, as far as I don't know, like without the Supreme Court ruling on that, I don't know if that's really a lower justice's place to do that. Regardless, I mean, the Biden administration, if they wanted to, could still charge him. Just they'd have to do it just under the AG instead of using the special prosecutor. As far as whether it's going to be relevant, I mean, he'll either win the election and it will be dismissed, or he'll lose and then they'll go back to prosecuting him. So, or I don't know, maybe they'll pardon him.
What about
the other ones? I think
are those up in the air because of the presidential action thing?
The immunity, yeah, I think the Briggs one or the Bragg one, they said they're going to delay sentencing because they got to, take that into account. The Georgia one, I think that one's also been pushed back because of Fani Willis paying like her lover like a ton of money through the state to go on vacations with him. I mean, that was pretty ridiculous. So I don't know if the elections will be all that relevant to, or the trial will be all that irrelevant to the election.
Can I just say that Trump has got to be one of the luckiest people ever in terms of politics? Like, let's not forget the fact that they ran in 2016 Hillary, a bitterly divisive and I would say that one of the few people who was capable of losing that election in 2016, and then Trump runs against Biden in 2020. Now, I think there's a lot to say about that election. We can't even begin to unpack. But but at the very least, people were questioning Biden's senility in 2020 and his age-related issues. So two back-to-back weak candidates. And then their Hail Mary pass last minute is Kamala Harris. Like, could you have gotten a suckier, like, break glass in case of emergency? That's like having a fire extinguisher that has not been recharged in 10 years when you break the glass. Like go on. And then we can also talk about the fact that, you want to call it intervention, the assassination attempt, the court cases have been dismissed. Cases. I think if you'd asked me again a few months ago, I would have said that it was really likely Trump would have been thrown in jail for one of the cases. Now I am not confident in that. So it's a lot of things. The writers really outdid themselves this season with Trump. Really cast himself as the lucky. They might have written the most lucky character ever in a story. So that's all I have to say about Trump in this respect and his cases.
I will say that in the
Well, we're still under.
Go
You
ahead.
can no go.
I was just gonna say we're on season 9 of Trump in Politics. This show does keep upping the stakes, and it's pretty impressive because at the end of each season, you're like, "There's what happens next season?" All these cliffhangers, the assassination, I mean, this really does kind of feel like a Starz TV show, where it just gets wilder and wilder, and you think one thing's gonna happen, and the next thing happens. So that was a pretty
I don't think
apt comparison, Clay.
my thought was that they are getting desperate to keep the ratings up for Trump, so they've kind of done the okay and gosh, in House of Cards they tried to assassinate Frank Underwood at one point. Let's try that.
Yeah.
Let's try that. Okay, we got to get rid of Biden and have him. Gosh, let's just have Biden give like the worst presidential address ever. As well, just as a keep people really interested in that respect. Let's have Kamala call herself Brat. Like that's just this isn't just
that's next season, Clay. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Yeah, no, for real.
Well, I was gonna say we're still under an hour. Do y'all want to? I kind of been wanting to do light items for a while. I kind of want to talk about season 4 of The Boys, and I'm sure the two of y'all kind of want to talk about Star Wars. So
I have not finished Boys season 4 yet. So
well, I guess the only thing I would say is that this did become relevant because they had to change the title of the season finale.
Yeah, I heard about there was some. Yeah,
it was Assassination Run, and so they just changed it to Boys season 4 finale. It does seem very meta, I will say, with what's going on. But okay, yes, I don't want to spoil it for anybody. So Colby, Blake, y'all want to talk about the Acolytes?
We can. Do we want to touch on the RNC and Hulk Hogan or President Camacho showing up for a speech?
Camacho.
Wait, what do you mean?
The Hulk Hogan speech at the RNC and the RNC in general?
I mean, yeah, we can.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that for a couple minutes. So, yeah, the RNC happened. It was interesting. Trump's speech was really good. Well, pretty good. Not really good. It was pretty good. I think it was the longest acceptance speech ever in presidential history.
Well, it was Trump talking. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, but he had great stamina. He was up there and he just kept going and going and going. It was a stark contrast from anything we've seen of Biden in the past 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then Hulk Hogan showed up to give Trump an entrance, and they had what's her face, the Kanye West's ex,
Kim Kardashian.
No, or maybe what was her name? Amber something.
Amber Rose.
Amber Rose, yeah. Amber Rose went up there.
I heard about that.
I was thinking, what the heck am I watching?
Is Amber Rose who? Before I guesstimate, who's Amber Rose?
I think she's a female rapper and
okay,
maybe porn star, maybe.
Oh, the porn star. Yes.
Yeah,
she's a porn star.
I saw that.
Or was.
It was a. I can see the strategy behind the RNC putting her up there to grab votes, and the speech was pretty good. It's just I thought it was ridiculous. Just a reflection of the state we're in.
I didn't watch her speech. I remember that came on the TV, and I think my sister was watching it, and she like just shouted. She's like, I think there's porn stars giving a speech. I was like, what? And like, I don't know, the Fox News says, former porn star, whatever it said. And I was like, there's no way there's a porn star giving a speech. That blew my mind. You're right. That's what a state we're in right now.
Yeah.
If we were, as Clay would have said, if we were in another timeline, a porn star would be giving a speech at DNC and everybody would be praising her for her bravery.
I will say, let's screw light items. The RNC was just humorous as on so many different levels. You of course have Trump accurately predicting that the Packers will be good this next year. That is assuming that the NFC North doesn't eat one another. Yada yada yada. Y'all know. Trump already thought about that too when he was saying that. Of course, the Hulkster. I was going to say a dark horse for Trump's vice presidential pick. I would definitely say if he could be, he would make a good border czar. That's all I'm gonna say. I would be petrified to cross the border if the Hulkster was in charge of it. And of course, Trump speaking so nicely, he said more words about Dana White in his speech than he did about his wife and his vice presidential nominee, which is also very comical. I found very comical watching his RNC speech. Yeah, I mean it was definitely one of the political events that happened. I know we don't have enough time to talk about it in its full brevity, which shows how crazy the last 2 weeks have been. But what I can say is I think it was a missed opportunity there by Trump. He could have definitely sealed the deal and gone a little bit further. But you know what? It is what it is. Trump wanted to talk about the Packers and wanted to ramble, which I mean, and talk about how great Dana White is. You know, that's which is typical. Which
He's
is
just the greatest. I gave him a call. He couldn't make it. I said that's fine. And then he surprised me. He said he was coming up, and it was just great. He's just such a great guy.
literally
Like,
go back
okay.
and watch his speech. It was like two sentences on his wife and then basically a full paragraph about how Dana couldn't make it. He was really happy that Dana
Yeah.
could make it at the last
That
minute.
man walked you through the entire timeline of when he first asked Dana to come to him flying in tonight and give you the step by step, the play by play. I think that was going on for like 5-8 minutes of him just talking about Dana White.
I thought was it Eric Trump's speech? Eric Trump had the best speech out of all of them. It was actually pretty dang good. I thought it was more powerful than
His was
I thought it was
fantastic.
more powerful than Donald's actually. And even President Trump went, "How about Eric's my son's speech?" And I was like, "That woo." He was even saying like there's something around how was I supposed to follow up with that? And then who was it that opened or followed? Dang it. The guy who followed, it's so funny. The guy who followed immediately after Hulk Hogan was Franklin
Billy Graham.
Yeah,
Billy
Franklin
son.
Graham, Billy Graham's son. He was saying, "How am I supposed to follow that?"
If that isn't Trump's Republican Party in a nutshell, Hulk Hogan speaking and then Billy Graham's son speaking back to back from one another. I mean, come on.
No, Hulk Hogan speaking, ripping his shirt off to reveal a Trump shirt. Then Franklin Graham following that.
I think the only thing that would have been funnier is if they had Amber Rose go on after Franklin Graham. That would have been the unholy trio right there. Maybe the holy one and the unholy trio. Oh man, yeah. RNC was definitely one of the political events that happened.
Yeah,
this
the
year.
RNC was entertaining and funny and had some good points. It's kind of like the exact opposite of the Acolyte, which was not funny. It was not entertaining, and you didn't learn
I'll say
anything. You
one
actually
last-
lost brain cells watching that crap.
You did.
I will say it was very nice of the Boys season 4 finale writers to coincide that. I mean, talk about a conspiracy right there. The assassination run plot line and the Trump assassination attempt. Like, I'm no conspiracist. That may be what I could buy.
Are we bringing
there.
conspiracy theories back? Bringing them in?
Well, I think that's about all the time we have, right, Paul? Right, Colby?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to be here for another hour to listen to conspiracy theories.
Fair enough.
Well, I'll touch on the Acolyte. The Acolyte was so crap. Everyone thought it was crap.
It was crap.
It was even the more Libby movie reviewers who watched it. I forget. There's the dude with the beard and who wears the black suit jacket. I forget his name. He's one of the bigger movie reviewers. Even he was saying this is awful.
You talking about the critical drinker, Nerdrotic?
No. This guy shows his face. Critical Drinker. Critical
yeah,
Drinker.
the one that drinks scotch if it's really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeremy John Irons or
let me check. Let me look real quick.
Yeah, I was about to look it up too. Jeremy Irons, I think.
Isn't that the guy who played King?
Jeremy Johns.
Yeah.
Jeremy Johns. Yeah. And Jeremy.
I was gonna say thank y'all for that very detailed commentary. It's bad.
I mean, Blake can speak more to this, but it just completely destroyed so much foundations of the Force and the Jedi in Star Wars. just completely upended it. Yoda's now in on a conspiracy, pretty much.
Kiadi Mundi's in it. Yoda's in on it.
Yeah.
We all like I said, the only way to save the show, and now because by the way, Colby, I went back and I rewatched it, the last episode. I saw Plagueis in there, and I just about threw my remote at the TV. I really wanted to just Hulk Hogan grab that TV and just toss it. I was so irritated. To put it nicely, yeah, the destroying of the Force, the witches somehow use the Force, but also use magic now, which is confusing. So are they using like Sith magic? Because within the Force there is Sith magic, but or are they using witch magic, which is different than Force magic? So it's like, what are they doing? They're using the Force, which they call the thread, because they're different and they have better ideas. And go women, people.
Yeah, the galaxy doesn't like women like us.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah.
And it's the perfect representation of the liberal mentality. They label themselves witches, use the exact same stuff as their enemies, but then call it different names, so therefore it's different. And then they put a label on themselves as being the victims, and that's what they have to run away. I was like, what a perfect representation of liberalism. We put the target on our own backs and then say we're the ones getting shot at. It was just
most of the characters were insufferable. They were all girl bosses.
Mhm.
Anytime a guy would try to make a point, some women character would sweep in and say, "No, you're wrong. Here's why you're wrong."
And then the guy would be like, "Yeah, you're right. Good point."
The hero guy, the main hero Jedi, is painted as a villain at the end.
Even though it was the worst way to paint someone as a villain too, because I came away from that scene thinking the Jedi and him were still the good guys, and he was right. The mother just tells the Jedi that hero pride you have is going to get you all killed one day. And it's like staring him in the eyes, and then there's this dramatic music like she's about to slaughter him, and he's like, "Okay, can I just get the girls? Like, I'm here for the kids to take them back." That was really overly ominous. I'm gonna take the girls, and then she's like, "Cool." But before that, she turns into this giant black mist and starts absorbing who he thinks is the other twin, and it looks like she's just killing her own daughter. So of course, he kills her as she's this giant black, evil-looking demon mist monster. He kills her, and she goes as she's dying, "I was gonna let her go with you," as if that also makes her the good guy, and what he did was wrong.
How is vaporizing her daughter supposed to? Oh yeah, you can helping her go with them.
Yeah, like how am I supposed to assume you're gonna let one of your daughters go when you're about to obliterate the other one? Two, how am I supposed to know you're doing that when you just said like all the Jedi were gonna die someday because of our the way we are, and then you start like turning this giant demon ghost monster. I came away from that episode thinking the Jedi are still the good guys, even though they play dramatic music behind them. His friend, that's Leslie Headland's not sister, girlfriend, whatever it is, she's the stupidest Jedi ever. And then Plagueis is in there. Plagueis, are you?
Yeah.
The only way to save the show in season 2 is to make the Jedi think that this guy, the Sith boy that's running around with Osha, is to make her think, and all the Jedi think that he's just a dark Jedi, which means he's not a Sith. So as far as we're aware, the Sith have not returned. That's the only way to come back and be like, so we saw a Jedi with a red lightsaber. We know that he used to be a Jedi, which means instead of being a Sith, he's just a dark Jedi. And that's the only thing you can do. And no one's going to understand the concept of a dark Jedi, because that was in lore. It was an ambiguous term.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's Gray Jedi, which also the Leslie Headland and the main actress that plays the twins, she has no idea neither of those women have any idea of what a Gray Jedi is. They're like, when asked who would they be, they're like, "I'd love to be a Sith." In their interviews, one of them goes, "I'd like to be a Gray Jedi because I like to think I have the balance of like everything." I was like, that's not exactly what a Gray Jedi is, but I'm glad to know that you just think because you mix the two colors, all of a sudden that's what they are. Like you about as bright as a burnt out bulb that's been tossed in the trash.
All right, yeah, that might be the last time we do light items. All right, Colby, do you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank y'all for listening. This has been From the Brink. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and rate us 5 stars on wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Colby Reynolds. I'm here with Paul Dehlinger, Blake Fisher, and Clay Grossman, and we're signing off.
Adios.